Go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katrina Bolaños, and together with my partner, Fernando Ortiz, today we are going to present our research project entitled Fear of Negative Evaluation and the Impact on Spoken Fluency in A2 level learners. This study belongs to the field of applied linguistics specialty without second language acquisition, language pedagogy, and effective factors in language learning. Here we are going to see the research online we are going to follow during this presentation. In many EFL classroom students experience anxiety when they are required to speak in front of the people, right? In front of teachers or classmates. Many learners fear making mistakes to be criticized or receiving negative judgments during his oral participation. This phenomenon is known as fear of negative evaluation. This issue is especially common among A2 students. At this level, they are still developing some vocabulary, pronunciation, and communication confidence. As a consequence, many students had said frequently avoid participating in oral activities and speak with limited fluency. Therefore, this study seeks to investigate the relationship between peer negative evaluation and spoken fluency among A2 level English learners. Um, to begin, we are going to start with the research questions in order to guide this investigation. The first research question will be, how does fear of negative evaluation affect spoken fluency in A2 level English learners? This question focuses on understanding how the anxiety and the fear of being judged may influence students in oral performance. The second research question is, what are the main sources of evaluation anxiety perceived by A2 level English learners during the speaking activities? This question seeks to identify the whether students feel more anxious because of teacher evaluation or personal insecurity during the oral task. This question help to guide the analysis and the objectives of this study. The independent variable in this study is fear of negative evaluation, also known as FNE. Fear of negative evaluation refers to the anxiety and comprehension students experience when they believe that others may judge them negatively. In EFL classrooms, many learners feel nervous when they have to speak in English because they are afraid of making mistakes and receiving criticism from teachers or classmates. This fear may cause students to avoid oral participation, headset frequently, or feel insecure during the speaking activities. Um, According to Horwitz and colleagues, language anxiety can negatively affect communication performance and students' confidence. In addition, Learning explains that the fear of negative evaluation is closely related to self-consciousness and social anxiety. This variable is very important because it may directly influence students' willingness to communicate and their spoken fluency development. Finally, we are going to review the dependent variable of this study is spoken fluency. Spoken fluency refers to the ability to communicate orally and with continuity, coherence, and minimal hesitation. Fluency is an important component of effective communication because it allows learners to express ideas more naturally and confidently. In this research, spoken fluency includes aspects such as speak rate, pauses, hesitation, coherence, smoothness of oral production. According to Segalot, Fluency involves the capacity to produce language efficiently and continuously during their communication. In addition, second explains that fluency development is connected to the cognitive process and automatic language use. At the A2 level, students often experience interruptions in fluency because they are developing vocabulary, pronunciation, confidence in speaking in English.
Thank you very much, Katri. Quite interesting information. Now, talking about the research design and methodology, we have to mention that this study follows a mixed method research approach because it combines both quantitative and qualitative methods. The quantitative component includes a brief fear of negative evaluation scale, right, and spoken fluency assessments. The quality component includes semi-structured interviews and classroom observations that help us understand, the students' perceptions, how they feel, how they are driving the emotions during the speaking activities. In addition, the research design is described and correlational because they study and examine the relationship between the fear and negative evaluation and the spoken fluency without manipulating variables, which is very important. The participants that we consider are A2 level students at Salesian University, and they are selected through purposive sampling. To collect this information, we got some instruments, like as you can see, as I have mentioned, a brief negative evaluation scale, second fluency evaluation considered on the rubric of Cambridge University Press, and the third is a semi-structured interviews with a checklist that we can feel how they are moving through the motions when they are speaking, right? Could you please Yes. Okay, so how we mentioned this in this case, of course, we prepared the scale evaluation. It is a free source in internet. We just can check it. The fluency rubric, spoken rubric from Cambridge University. Of course, you can download from the original web pages of Cambridge. We use it. The semi-structured interviews, it was the conversation that we have with the students, the checklist, emotions, how they feel, sad, angry, nervous. And of course, the most important here that we consider was the ethical considerations, right? Which is now very, very important because we should know that the data from students is very sensible and we cannot expose them anytime by names or last names. So even though according to the ethical considerations from the institution to manage the data. Can you please move on to the next one, please? So the intervention procedure was very simple. Of course, we ask the students if they consent to provide the information. We prepare all the materials, the scale, the observation class. We administer, of course, the scale. We introduce it into a very interesting program to manipulate or to manage the information. Then we explain also the tasks the students can calculate fluency metrics, etc. And then we finally got the correlation with fear negative evaluation with the methods of metrics that we use as statistical software. Can you please move into another? The results that we got here were very interesting, right? A total of 32 students, A-level learners, of course, participated in this study. All of them were native Spanish speakers enrolled in an English class from A2 level at Salesian University. 18 males, 18 female students, 14 male students at the age from 17 to 22 years. We have to admit that all these students have participated or have been enrolled into a regular normal English class, right? The final score that we got was that the 32 from 14 to 80, the average was the maximum of 60, and it was all the participants were categorized into low of 8.25, that it was moderate the 15 and high the 8% in the fear negative evaluation scale. Can you please keep on moving, please? Thank you very much. At the end, we can have some conclusions, limitations, and suggestions. As we conclude from this research, is that this project seeks to investigate the relationship between the fear of negative evaluation and the spoken fluency in the A2 level students. This study aims to contribute a better understanding of how students manage the emotional situations, the emotional factors, and how they affect in the communication of class. Some limitations that we can consider. We found two important limitations, the contextual and the cultural limitation. It was conducted, of course, in the city, so where the educational culture places in a high value of accuracy and errors are very common to commit, right? So fear of negative evaluation may more pronounced in such a context compared to educational systems that prioritize the communication over accuracy. Some recommendations probably for future evaluations. We can say that it is very important to improve some psychological measures of anxiety, such as heart rate, variability, skin conductance, cortisol levels. And the other was very important to use real-time anxiety assessment during the moment they are speaking, right? So this is the most important information we have got. I think the time is limited. Can you please move on? Here you have all the references that we have studied pre, while, and post, or suggest, or research. And thank you very much for sharing us